Welcome back to Stoic Spark. Have you ever noticed how easily we let small things dictate our mood? I used to walk around with a short temper, reacting to every little inconvenience as if the universe had conspired against me. A sarcastic email at work, a driver tailgating me, a friend running late. Any tiny spark could ignite a storm that ruined my entire afternoon, sometimes my whole day. I'd shoot off a sharp reply that I regretted instantly, lean on the horn until my hand ached, or replay the insult in my mind like a broken record. By bedtime, I felt like I had wrestled with a hurricane and lost every single time. Sound familiar? Like you're constantly at war, not with the world, but with your own mind? Then came a discovery that felt almost absurd at first. I started doing nothing. Not indifference, not avoidance, but simply not reacting. No clever comeback, no angry glare, no endless mental replays of the slight. Just silence, a conscious pause. And in that pause I found something remarkable: power. The kind of power Marcus Aurelius wrote about when he said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." That single shift, choosing not to react, became a quiet superpower. It saved my peace, preserved my relationships, and even protected my career. Because every time we resist the urge to lash out, we reclaim ownership of ourselves. Let's be honest, reacting feels good, but only for a moment. That perfect insult, the door slammed in anger, the angry emoji, it's a small hit of false victory. But the Stoics knew this truth well. Fleeting pleasures carry heavy costs, and the bill always arrives, more expensive than we imagined. Modern studies back it up. People who lash out impulsively report far higher stress and far more conflict at home. Does that sound like the life of tranquility we seek? I learned this the hard way. Once I snapped at a coworker over a minor mistake. In my mind, I thought I was being assertive. In reality, I lost credibility, respect, and an opportunity. At home, my partner grew cautious around me as if peace could shatter at any second. My body itself carried the toll. Tension, knots, unease. Here's the paradox: reactivity feels like control, but it's the opposite. When we react, we surrender. We hand over the steering wheel of our mind to circumstances and people we can't control. As Epictetus reminded us, no man is free who is not master of himself. By reacting, we become puppets pulled by every string of circumstance. By pausing, we cut the strings and reclaim freedom. And that is the path of the Stoic, to live with intention, not impulse. It's time to take the wheel back. The psychiatrist Viktor Frankl once wrote, "Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom." The Stoics would have nodded in full agreement. For them, freedom was never about external circumstances. It was about mastery of the mind. But here's the fascinating part. Neuroscientists at Yale measured that space. It lasts only 0.6 seconds, less than a blink. And yet that fleeting moment holds the difference between slavery to impulse and sovereignty over yourself. The problem? Most of us speed past it without even noticing. Conditioned by habit, by ego, by pride, we react instantly, blindly, as if we had no choice at all. For years, I did exactly that. It wasn't until I tried the simplest exercise that everything changed. Whenever anger rose up, I forced myself to take one full, slow breath. 6 seconds, 10 times longer than that natural window. Long enough to bring awareness back online. The first week, I failed constantly. 20 impulsive reactions a day, easy. Week 2, maybe 10. It felt like I was wrestling my own instincts. But persistence, one of the Stoic virtues, began to pay off. By month 3, something shifted. The pause became natural, no longer forced. That fragile 0.6 second gap had expanded into a doorway. And through it, I found a choice the Stoics spoke of so often. The choice to rule myself instead of being ruled by passions. This pause is not about suppressing emotion. The Stoics never taught us to kill our humanity. They taught us to guide it. By slowing down, the higher self reclaims the reins. The rational mind, our hegemonicon as the Stoics called it, steps back into command. Suddenly empathy becomes possible. Perspective returns. Solutions appear. It's like pressing the reset button on your inner operating system. Instead of crashing in the storm, you regain clarity. And the more you practice, the stronger this becomes. You're literally carving new pathways in your brain, teaching yourself to step back rather than strike out. Sometimes it's a slow breath, sometimes a whispered stop, sometimes even stepping back a single pace. Small techniques, but each one sharpens your freedom. Because every pause, no matter how small, is a quiet victory over chaos. But here's the question. If the pause is so powerful, why do we so often resist it? Why do we cling to our anger as if it were strength? In the next part, we'll uncover the hidden lies of reactivity and the Stoic truth about what real strength actually looks like. Even after taking that crucial breath, sometimes the spark still smolders. The rude comment, the sarcastic email, the dismissive gesture, it keeps circling in your mind like an echo. You replay it, trying to craft the perfect retort, fueling the flames instead of letting them die. This is where the Stoics would remind us, the mind becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. If you let anger paint your mind, everything you see will be tinted red, so the trick is to gently shift the palette. Modern researchers call this positive distraction. The Stoics might simply call it redirecting attention. Here's one method I use. When anger clings to me, I call to mind something light, harmless, and utterly non-threatening. For me, it's often the chorus of a silly old song or even a jingle from years ago. The point isn't the song, it's the shift. Because your rational mind, the prefrontal cortex, can't fully focus on two heavy tasks at once. If you're recalling lyrics, visualizing a peaceful scene, or naming things you're grateful for, the brain literally diverts energy away from the anger loop. It's like telling your mind, we're not going to fight this fire while standing inside the flames. Step outside first. Stanford research shows just how effective this can be. People who practice positive distraction reduced their stress responses by 25% in under 2 minutes. Heart rate lowered. Tension eased. Clarity returned, and that's exactly the point. This isn't avoidance. It's not about ignoring problems. It's a tactical retreat, a momentary disengagement that allows your full reasoning power to return. Seneca once wrote, "The greatest remedy for anger is delay." By redirecting your attention, you're not burying the emotion, you're cooling it, tempering it, until you're calm enough to face it wisely. Other simple distractions can work just as well. Recall 3 things you're grateful for. Picture a calm place or even step outside for fresh air. Each one is a quiet exercise in reclaiming control, because the goal isn't to erase the trigger, it's to ensure it doesn't erase you. But even when you master the pause and the redirect, there's still a deeper Stoic challenge. Understanding that the real battle isn't with the world at all. It's with the judgments we attach to it. In the next part, we'll explore how the Stoics dismantled anger at its very root, by changing the way we interpret what happens to us. One of the most common fears I hear is this: if I don't react, am I just letting bad behavior slide? Doesn't silence mean approval? The Stoic answer is simple: no, not at all. Non-reaction is not weakness, nor is it endorsement. It is strength. Acceptance in this context doesn't mean agreement. It means acknowledgement. You notice the event, the words, or even your own rising anger, without immediately throwing judgment on top of it. You allow it to exist without feeding it extra drama. Think of anger as a stray cat. If you chase it, yell at it, or try to drive it away aggressively, it often comes back louder, claws out, demanding even more of your energy. But if you stop feeding it, stop pouring milk into its bowl, it eventually leaves. The cat still exists. You just choose not to make it your battle. The same principle applies to our emotions. Modern research by Kristen Neff has shown that simply labeling feelings, saying to yourself, "I notice irritation," or "I feel a wave of anger," lowers stress hormones by nearly a quarter. Why? Because judgment of our feelings is just another reaction, another spark that feeds the fire. The Buddhists describe this as the second arrow. The first arrow is the pain itself, the insult, the inconvenience. The second arrow is the story we tell ourselves about it, the anger, the resentment, the self-criticism. The Stoics understood this too. Epictetus reminded us, men are disturbed not by things but by the views which they take of things. When you step back and say, "This is what I feel," nothing more, nothing less, you cut the string of that second arrow. You prevent anger from planting roots. You are not saying this is good or this is acceptable. You're simply saying this is reality. That subtle shift is incredibly liberating, because the less you wrestle with emotion, the less power it has over you. And what is Stoicism if not the art of preserving your inner fortress no matter what storms rage outside? But here's the next challenge. Once you've stopped feeding anger, how do you transform that energy into something useful? How do you turn reactivity into resilience and silence into strength? In the next section, we'll dive into how the Stoics reframed every challenge, not as an enemy, but as fuel for growth. Once the fire fades, once you've created space and allowed the surge of emotion to pass, You finally stand in a position of strength. Now you are no longer a captive of impulse. You are the master of your response. And this is where the real transformation happens. You move from being a victim of circumstance to becoming, as Marcus Aurelius would say, an architect of action. Here's a simple but powerful framework I call the 3-sentence rule. It's not Stoic dogma, but it reflects Stoic discipline beautifully. Here's an example. Instead of exploding over that misfiled report, you might say, "The report went out with missing data. I felt embarrassed in front of the client and it created extra work for me. Can we build a checklist so this doesn't happen again?" Do you feel the difference? No blame storm. No silent treatment. No passive aggression. Just clear, reasoned speech aimed at resolution. This is logos in action, the Stoic principle of rational order expressed in words. And the results aren't just philosophical. Studies show that when teams practice this method, project completion rises by 17%, while interpersonal tension drops by nearly 40%. Imagine your home, your workplace, your friendships with 40% less conflict. That's not just better communication, that's a better life. Because in the Stoic view, true strength is not found in domination or clever retorts. It's in clarity, honesty, and the courage to invite cooperation. It's being vulnerable enough to state your experience, rational enough to state the facts, and wise enough to seek solutions instead of battles. This is what it means to speak not as a prisoner of passion, but as a practitioner of philosophy. But even beyond skillful words and calm responses, there's one final Stoic lesson that ties it all together. Learning to embrace challenges not as threats but as fuel. In the next part, we'll explore the ultimate Stoic mindset. How to turn every trial, every spark of irritation into a stepping stone toward strength. The first time I truly put this full sequence to the test, the pause, the redirect, the acceptance, and the intentional response was unforgettable. I was in a minor fender bender. The other driver, clearly overwhelmed by his own day, exploded. He shouted, cursed, and raged at me as if I had destroyed his entire world. The old me, I would have matched his fury, raised my voice, and turned the street into a stage for chaos. But the Stoic me? I breathed. One long, slow 6-second breath, and then another. As he continued to vent, I quietly redirected my mind, silently humming a tune to break the loop of anger. My heart, which had spiked, began to slow. I accepted his storm for what it was. Not a reflection of me, but a reflection of his own struggle. And when his shouting finally paused, I spoke, not with fire, but with calm. "I understand this is frustrating," I said evenly. "Let's exchange the information so we can both move on." That was it. 4 minutes from collision to resolution. No police, no spectacle, no days wasted in regret. Just peace. Months later, I learned something remarkable. The same driver told the insurance adjuster that I was the chillest person ever, and even waived half the deductible. Doing nothing saved me $1,000, but far more valuable than money, it preserved my peace, my self-respect, and my freedom from regret. That is the quiet victory of Stoicism. The world rages, but you remain steady. So here's my challenge for you. Pick just one small trigger today. The next text that irritates you, the grocery line that moves too slowly, the driver who cuts you off, and in that moment, pause. Take the 6-second breath. Watch what happens. And if you're willing, share your story in the comments. Did the world collapse? Or did you feel strangely powerful? As if you had bent chaos to your will by refusing to feed it. Your victory, no matter how small, might be the spark that helps someone else break free from the cycle of snap and regret. Together, let's build a community of conscious respond. A true Stoic spark. Remember this, real strength isn't loud. It isn't in shouting or slamming doors or striking back. Real strength is silent. It's the refusal to hand your peace to passing storms. Every time you pause, every time you accept, every time you respond with reason instead of rage, you cast a vote. A vote for the person you are becoming. Calm, clear, in control. Keep stacking those votes day after day and you'll awaken to find yourself unshakable. Like Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Be like the rock against which the waves break. It stands firm and the raging sea falls still around it. The world will swirl with storms, but you will be the calm eye of the hurricane, unshaken, untouchable, because heroes in the movies throw punches, but heroes in life, they throw silence. And in that silence lies your greatest power."